And there you go. In about 30 seconds, it's unlocked my door. So for a long time now, Ford has had an option available on many of their vehicles where you can get a little keypad on your door where you can enter a 5-digit code and unlock your door without your keys. It's a nice little thing to have, but over the years I've had it, I've always wondered if it presents a security hole where people could get into your vehicle when they weren't supposed to. Is there some way that someone could figure out a code? So I've run across a couple things on the internet in the last couple of years that made me realize that there's a way to enter every possible code that you can have on one of these keypads in a lot less time than you would think would be necessary. One was the Open Sesame project by Sammy Kamkar, which actually opens garage doors, not car doors. But then there's the Car Hacker's Handbook that showed how to use a special number sequence to enter every possible code a lot quicker than you would think. But being a lazy electrical engineer type, I don't want to do that by hand. So I have created a little robotic electromechanical device to do it for me. Let me pull the camera back and I will show you what I have created. I've made a device that I call the 5-finger code finder because it has 5 little solenoids that can press the buttons. It attaches with magnetic feet to the door right over the keypad. I get it centered well over the numbers. Then I have this big beefy battery pack I made because it turns out that the little wimpy 9-volt batteries I intended to use originally aren't up to the task of pounding away on the solenoids. So we'll hang the battery pack there. We will hook up the power wires. Turn the system on. Press the start button. And away it goes. Those little solenoids are now punching out every single number combination that you can have on a 5-digit keypad. So I restarted it because on my first attempt I didn't have it lined up quite right over the keypad buttons, and it actually did work. It's very picky about the alignment because it's got to push the buttons down flat and square. And because I'm trying to run it as fast as it can recognize button presses. And there you go. In about 30 seconds, it's unlocked my door. That happened a lot quicker than usual because for the purposes of this video, I changed my code to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
That's the stupidest combination I ever heard in my life!
And that comes pretty early in the sequence. But it only takes about 11 minutes to run every single possible code. And on average, it'll find a code in about 3 minutes. It's not half the time like you would think because there's actually 2 codes it can find. Your own personal code and the original factory code. So that makes it take about 1/3 on average, 1/3 of the total time to find a code. So I haven't found some magic backdoor or a flaw in their system. Their system is working exactly as Ford intended it to, but to make it user-friendly, they had to make some compromises in their design. The first obvious one is there's really only 5 buttons on here, not 10 buttons like you would have on a normal numeric keypad, and they've doubled them up and put 2 numbers on each button, so you still have 0 through 9, and you can still use the same number on your car door that you've been using on your ATM card for the last 20 years. But really, there's only 5 buttons. They put the even numbers on the same ones as the odd, so that greatly reduces the number of codes. The other compromise they made is there's no penalty for entering an incorrect code that doesn't unlock your door. You can just keep pressing buttons until you enter the proper code. So it's not like when you log into your banking account on the web too many times with the incorrect password and they lock you out and make you call customer service to get in. So you can just sit here and press buttons all day until you happen to find the right code that unlocks the door. And the important thing that makes this work so quickly is it does not clear out the 5 digits you have entered when you enter an incorrect code. So you can start entering digits, and every time you press a key, it is checking the last 5 digits, not throwing everything out and making you start over. So say my code is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You entered something else. You were trying, I don't know, 9, 0, 7, 1, 2. You can finish that with 3, 4, 5, and it still unlocks the door. Every time you enter a digit, it rechecks the last 5 digits you entered. So with the proper sequence, every time you press a button, you're actually trying an entirely new 5-digit code made of the previous 4 digits that you entered and the new one you just pressed. And the final bit of the puzzle is there is a special mathematical sequence. A mathematician named something like De Bruin, I'm not sure how to pronounce his name, came up with an algorithm where you can say, what is the shortest sequence of a certain number of digits, like in this case 5 buttons, where my code is 5 digits, what's the shortest possible sequence where every possible code is contained in the sequence there somewhere, reusing as many digits as possible. And that's the trick that cuts this down to the point where instead of taking hours to find your code, you can do it in 11 minutes or less with my little button pusher gadget. So stay tuned for more videos. I'm going to make a couple more in this sequence, one that goes into more detail on how this number sequence business works and where I found this idea on the internet. And another one maybe where I'll talk a little bit about how I built and tested the device and all the problems that I had during the design, all the little things that you don't expect to happen that you got to fix to make it work. So you can learn from my mistakes if you decide to do something like this. So stay tuned for more videos on the 5-finger code finder.